Well, good evening again. It's Mike from SADT, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit today about um, some questions that I got from one of my, I call everybody that I work with friends. One of my friends who had a lot of questions. She's a lady who lives alone, and she doesn't have a lot of friends that she can call on in the case of some type of civil or local emergency that she might have to deal with from time to time. So since she know what type of work I do and the things I'm interested in, she figured she would ask me some questions about how she might be able to better handle some of the things that might come up from time to time. I'm finally getting around to trying to address these things, as I've already spoken to her about them, but I wanted to also maybe share these with some other people, women, men, families who might also have some of these concerns, but because of pride, whatever, they might be too prideful to ask these questions to people who do this kind of thing day in and day out, work on these type of things, think about these things constantly, and come up with ways to solve things, ways to deal with them. So I think it's great that she stepped out of her comfort zone and asked some questions to someone who's dealing with these things on a daily basis. Again, I have several years of security, military, law enforcement type experience. Therefore, I think I'm very qualified to give some of the pointers that I do. I mean, when a doctor goes to school for 10 years, he's considered a specialist in most cases. I spent 10 years in the United States active duty Marine Corps. So I think that kind of qualifies me with the type of training that I had while I was in the Marine Corps in firearms, close combat. In fact, I taught close combat to many of the people who I work with. So I think I'm qualified to be a consultant, a person willing to help a fellow citizen with some of the questions they might have from time to time. So with that said, before I start, I want to, I'm just getting home, I want to do something that I need to do. I do this daily, along with a lot of other things. I do this, to try to keep myself fit. You have to deal with a lot of pollutants out here. You're burning the candle at both ends. These things wear out over time. And because of that, you have to do things to compensate for that. Make sure that your body's covered, your mind is covered, everything is strong. That's why I say, if you're smart, you'll go to Infowars.com, take a look at some of the products there. Get the things that might help you out. Everybody is different. Everyone's lacking in different things. They get different things from their dietary intake. You need to get a tailor-made supplement regimen and nutrient regimen that you follow that works for you. I found what works for me, and I hope that you will do the same. Again, go to Infowars.com, look at their products, see what you can find for yourself. Okay, I have several questions that were brought to my attention by this lady friend, and I'm going to try to give you some succinct answers to some of them. Some of them I might have to skip because I don't want to be doing a hour-long video that everybody's going to fall asleep watching. But these are some very interesting and thoughtful questions that were asked to me, and I think you'll learn a lot if you pay attention. If you haven't already considered some of these things, then I think it's about time that you should, for you and your family's benefit. Okay, her first question was, What are the three most important things I need to worry about if I'm 100% not prepared for disaster or emergency? Well, what I believe is a person should first seek out a qualified trainer or a person with experience in these type of things, and try to get the type of training that you need. I mean, it's hard to go this alone if you're not qualified, if you don't know a lot about the subject matter. It's hard to just jump up and start doing this type of thing and figuring out how to prepare yourself and take care of your family when everything is falling apart all around you, when things are imminently occurring right around you. Just think about it. You're sitting at home watching a movie, maybe on a Sunday night or something. Kid in the bed, your other kid is making a puzzle on the floor while you and your loved one, you're watching television. All of a sudden you hear gunshots, then you hear more gunshots, then you hear screaming, then you hear some glass break. Something like this happened in Nazi Germany as it was turning from a socialist society into a totalitarian fascist state. No one was expecting it. They call it the night of broken glass, or crystal night. You might want to look that up. It'll give you some idea of what people go through when other people that are powerful want to take full control. That's one way, and then it's the other way. You just let things go and everything falls apart. You still get the instability, the breakdown of society, and it all ends up the same way. It's order out of chaos. I mean, if you look at Venezuela, I mean, something like that occurred there, where everything just malaised away, all the rules and all the requirements of the public just fell apart. The systems fell apart. There was no support for the people. There was no bringing in of food, no bringing in of water, keeping the infrastructure together, and everything fell apart. There was no employment, there were no jobs, there was no money. Women are going around selling their bodies and doing all kinds of things to try to stay alive. And so it's good this woman brought these questions to my attention. You should look for a group of individuals that can help you. You should do this before things get bad. Don't wait until things get bad to start looking for a group or some friends to depend on in disaster. Because generally the people you find that might seem like they're willing to help you when a disaster takes place, they might not be the best people for you to be bonding with under the circumstances when there's no law enforcement and no security around to protect you. You might be getting with some people who are going to do you in. So start now. Do it now while you have an opportunity to get some real help, get some real security, somebody that you can really depend on. Get to know them, develop trust on both ends, and then start actually building towards something. And to do this, don't wait till tomorrow. Start where you stand. I mean, right now on this video, you can put a comment down below. Everybody should comment if they have a question or a concern, but just a comment. Put a comment down below and say, hey, I'm a single woman, I'm a single guy, I don't have any friends around here, I moved here, and I need to try to get some type of cooperation in my area where if something happened, disaster preparedness, we are going to coalesce together and try to do something to help ourselves to get out of this situation that we're in today. That's not difficult. Start where you stand. Do it now. Make that comment. Her second question was, how do I know that I can trust people who I join forces with? And how do I gain entry to a safe group to be a part of? Very good question. First thing you have to do is you have to do like when in the case of a lady, when you're getting ready to buy an appliance, when you're getting ready to buy a car, You want to do your homework. You want to find out whether that person is legitimate, whether they represent the type of things that you are associated with. If you're a Christian, this is a Christian organization. Do the people have long-held, deep beliefs in the same things that you believe in? Is it a safe group? Or is it a bunch of gunslingers running around doing war games and stuff with no aim or anything, and might take advantage of people when they get an opportunity in a SHTF situation? You have to be careful. You want to do your homework. You want to talk to people beforehand. You want to get to know your instructors, the people who you trust, the people who you feel might be able to help you with the circumstance that you might be getting involved with. So you want to get testimonials. You want to use your instincts. You want to use the instincts that you were born with. Every human being and every animal were born with certain instincts that let you know when something's wrong. When you feel there's something wrong, you go to a meeting in a public location, and you just get a funny feeling about the whole thing. Back out of it. You're not obligated to stay in it. Get out of it. That'll be the best thing you do that day. Use your instincts. You also want to make sure that you're not getting involved in nothing where the people are trying to get rich quick with some type of thing where you get a bunch of people dependent on it. No cult type situations, anything like that. Commune situation. You don't need that. What you need is someone that can steer you in the right direction. Come together, have plans for strategically taking care of defensive situations in a critical civil unrest situation. That's what you're looking for. Hold on just 1 second. Yeah, this happens. I get busy sometime and I have calls coming in. I don't really want any interruptions. So let me take care of this problem real quick. Bear with me just for a second. Okay. Her next question was, how do I keep myself clean when all of public facilities and everything have broken down, and we're in a world without rule of law situation? All the public services, your plumbing, none of that stuff's working properly anymore. And properly is a key point. Even if you turn your faucet on, if things are gone astray and water comes out of it, you have to be careful. That water might not be potable, as it's called. You might need to make sure that you actually are getting sanitary water. If no one's working at the sanitary department in your area, then it's a good possibility that your water could be polluted. It also could be polluted by a terrorist organization or something. So you have to be careful, and you have to have people with the training and the attitude that will be on 10, so to speak, in a situation where everything's breaking down around you, that know what to do, know the precautions to take, know the countermeasures that you can utilize to help you overcome a situation like that. Well, first, there's two types of sanitation. There's regular hygiene, and then there's field sanitation or field hygiene. Knowing the difference between the two will save your life. I mean, if you only have like 10 gallons of water, you don't want to be taking pimp showers and baths all over the place every 15 minutes or every time you get hot. You don't want to be pouring a half gallon of water over your head to cool down or washing all over your body every 5 minutes, or if you got a family of 4 and you got 10 gallons of water and that's all you know that you have for right now, you might want to be a little careful about what you do and how you do it. Field sanitation is doing the critical things that's necessary for you to stay infection free, to keep from totally getting so grubby that it's when you're around other people, it might be a difficult situation. There's other ways to do that, and that's what being part of a group where you have people with the proper training on field sanitation and hygiene would come into play. Because if you start being prepared now, then you will have things. There's wet and dry sanitation products. You need to find out what these are, and you need to get some of them. You need to not hoard, but you need to stock some. And the reason why I say, some preppers, they might have a garage full of canned goods, 100 gallons of water, 2,000 pounds of food, all kinds of stuff. And then they have a bug out plan. Well, that's all good and dandy, but I have this rule that I live by, and that is you only have that which you can protect and that which you can carry. If you can't carry it with you and you can't protect it, then it's not yours. It's whoever gets it. In a world without rule of law, your garage door, your bars, that's no barrier to hungry people, a hungry mob that needs to get what you have. And if you're trying to protect that flank where you got all your stuff stored, maybe you're leaving another flank that's more important, the one maybe where your children might be located. What you want to do is you want to stock enough stuff that if you have to move, then you can. You want to have stock of goods and supplies, but you don't want to go crazy with that to the point where you have an unrealistic expectation of protecting it in an unsecure location, and no house is going to be totally secure. It's not a fort. If you build a fortress and it's only you and your family, not only are you barring the entry of others into your home, but you also barring your exit out. Think about that. Think about that, because not a lot of preparedness instructors and people online are telling the whole truth when it comes to that. Anytime you create a barrier to stop things from getting in, you're also creating a barrier for you having multiple ways of exit. You always have to plan your egress when you're building your fortification. Yes, you want to make sure that you are preparing for both wet and dry hygiene sanitation conditions. You want to use heat sometimes to sterilize rather than using water to clean. We have this thing about, and I have it myself, about dirt and all that kind of thing, where in the military they used to say, in the Marine Corps, say some of your food fell on the ground, and it would maybe say you had a chicken leg or something, it fell on the ground and you don't want to eat it no more. Well, the instructor might walk up and say something like, the chicken lived his whole life on the ground, now you don't want to eat it? The chicken walked on the ground every day. All it did was live on the ground, and now you don't want to eat it because it fell on the ground? No, what you have to do is you have to clean it, heat it again, till you know that you kill the bacteria, dust any sand or dirt or whatever off of it, and eat that which might be your last meal. It's very important to do so. The next question: how long can you survive without food or water? That's also a good question, but it's not a wholesale question. A lot of it depends on the health of the individual, the circumstances like temperature, all these different variables. But there's a rule of thumb that is accepted in the preparedness world, survival world, and I'll throw in another one, and that's oxygen, and that's the rule of threes. You may have heard of it, you may haven't. If you haven't heard of it, write it down. Think about this. This is critical when you start having problems. It could be a first aid situation, a health problem, an emergency first aid problem, or something like that. Some of this might come into play. Well, the rule of threes is 3 minutes you can go without oxygen, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. Now again, I'm saying that everybody isn't the same. It doesn't matter whether you weigh 300 pounds or 150 pounds in most cases. A 300-pound man may not survive 3 days without water, even though his body is holding more water than the other person. It's not that simple. It's about health. That's why you need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and staying healthy and knowing your limitations. You need to get out, find out what your limitations are now, before things go wrong. Don't wait until things go wrong and then start trying to find out what you're capable of. That's why we train now, so you can know what you can handle in advance of the situation. So I can't really answer that question for the lady. All I can give is a generalizations for the situation. I can't tell her how long she can survive without food or water. But what I can tell her is that if she's going anything over 3 days with water, she's going to be in serious trouble. If she's going anything over 3 weeks without food, she's probably not going to have the strength to go looking for it. So understand those 3 points. 3 minutes for oxygen, 3 days without water, and 3 weeks without food. Next question. How do I get home from work in a metropolitan area if there's riots going on around me? Now this is a very important question, and most of you haven't given it very much thought. Let's say you're downtown Houston and you live in a high-rise building, a very nice area on the outskirts of the downtown area. But you hear to the south, in between where you live and where you work, there's a gigantic commotion. Buildings are burning, they're blocking the traffic, turning over cars and everything. And your kids are in trouble because they are somewhere in the area too. Now you have to get home. So you jump up, run out, and get on the train and start heading southbound. Have to connect to a bus. You're riding a bus, you run into an angry mob. They ransack the bus, grab everybody off, start beating the daylights out of them, and you never make it home. That's why you have to have a plan ahead of time, and you have to watch the news and have ways of checking up on things like this on a daily basis, on a sometimes hourly basis. If you know there's problem occurring in your area or there's an error of it. Remember I told you about instincts. I'm going to do a video on instincts, because as we have become so civilized and removed from nature, we've lost a lot of our instincts. In the city we call that street sense. So we blindly walk into trouble. And this is what I'm talking about in this scenario. Sometimes the shortest way to a point is actually not the shortest route. You might think that the quickest route to where you're trying to get to is a straight line, but sometimes you have to go all the way around the situation to get back to where you're trying to get to actually make it to that place where you're trying to get to. And on the other side of that, you need to make sure that you have an actual plan ahead of time. You have to be able to talk to your children, your significant other, your friends, your family, letting them know of alternate locations, a possibility that you might have to spend the night. Sometimes it's better that you spend the night in the area where there's no trouble, and wait until things either quiet down or until help gets there to pick you up. You have to think about that. Sometimes it's better to stay where you are and wait out the problem. Because if the problem is not where you are, then you're better off than trying to get back home and not knowing what you might run into. So you must understand that the shortest way home is not always a straight line. That might be you rushing into death. You know, they have a thing in law enforcement. Be careful about how fast you run. Like if you're running after a suspect, you're just running blindly, and all of a sudden you keep running and running, trying to catch him, and you end up by yourself because you've outran all your help and everything, and now you're surrounded by 6 or 8 people. Be careful what you run after. You might catch up with it. Okay, next question. How to get reunited with your family and loved ones if you've been separated by an emergency situation. Again, that goes back to that preparedness program that you've developed with your family and communicated with them about prior to the situation happening. Not doing that is to your family and your detriment. You need to do it now. Start where you stand, develop that plan now. Do not wait until things start getting shaky and stuff, because you gotta practice it. Just like, hey, your job has fire drills, your schools have them. There's always contingency plans, operations built into government situations. Why don't you have an emergency plan for your home? Have you ever had a fire drill at your house? You might have an alarm system built into your house. But if the alarm goes off, what is your family supposed to do? Do you know? Have you told them, this is what you do if our alarm system goes off at 3 in the morning? You know, alarm systems scare burglars, but they also scare children. They scare mommies and daddies and make them not be able to react to the situation properly. So you need to periodically turn off the system to the police monitoring system, and actually set that alarm off in the middle of the night and have a drill just to see how people react. See if they actually can do what they think they'll do when there's an emergency situation. If someone kicks your door in and you live in the average house, maybe 1,800 square feet or something, or 2,000 square feet, probably take an assailant that's actually trying to get to you probably less than 10 seconds to close the gap, get right up on top of you, and start exacting some type of damage upon your person. 10 seconds. Are you going to be prepared for that? Do you have any type of idea how it would be if you were asleep, sound asleep, and your alarm went off, how you would react? Would you be able to go up under that bed, open a case, and take your gun out and make sure it's ready, charged and everything, and hot, and be able to face down an intruder who was already ready, already fully alert? Oh, maybe you have a German Shepherd or a Pit Bull or something, and you think that's going to stop an aggressive man by itself. Trust me, it won't. A dog, I don't care how big, it could be a English wolfhound. A man who's been animalized and is coming to harm you, no dog on earth can handle that man if he is ready and prepared to give his life to take yours. People don't understand that. Now, if you have multiple dogs, they might have a chance. But an aggressive, alpha male type angry man with weapons, a dog is not going to be a match for him. So get that through your head. You need more than just that dog to safeguard your family. And always, when you're trying to meet up with your loved ones again, make sure, along with having drills and stuff, you have secondary locations for meetup outside of the location, somewhere central to all of your locations where you might be able to meet up. That's something that's practiced in the military all the time. Contingency might mean that you can't make it to the rendezvous point, so to speak. You might have to go with a secondary or a third location. Writing it down, using different types of coded things that I teach people, you would better be able to handle situations like that when they come up. No one can give you a quick and fast answer that's going to solve your problems. It's not going to happen. What we can do, though, is tell you to look into getting a preparedness plan and doing preparedness drills ahead of time so that you're more prepared and you have muscle memory and mental memory of the things that you need to do to stay safe and stay alive. Well, that was 6 questions. There are many more on here, and I'm not going to run this video that long where it's going to cover all those today. But there's going to be a part 2 to this video, and this video I'm going to name it Questions from a Non-Prepper. So be looking forward to Questions from a Non-Prepper part 2 to go along with this video. And again, make sure that you are practicing the things that's going to make you and your family safer and more confident about the situation that we find ourselves in, with the political situation and all the financial problems that might occur in the next coming months. Make sure that you're prepared and stay strong and stay safe.